Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice, the podcast for women who are done waiting for the one and ready to become the parent on their own damn terms. We're talking fertility, pregnancy, emotional chaos, and the village that it takes to raise a kid. Sometimes you're crying in the bathtub. Sometimes you're crying because your toddler bit you. And sometimes you cry because you chose all of this. Welcome to Motherhood, solo style. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice. I am your host, Laura. Today, we're speaking with a newer mom, Bernie, and this conversation is one of the most unfiltered that we have had yet. We had such a great time exploring a wide range of topics throughout this recording, and Bernie shares her experience with honesty, humor, and openness. Let's dive in. I'm Laura, by the way. It's so nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
I'm Kristen. I think we're both actually in Denver. My twins just turned 2 at the end of March. And yeah, it's a wild ride, but they are so much fun.
Well, I'm Bernadette or Bernie. And I'm on the east side of Denver. My daughter is 5.5 months.
Oh, awesome.
Which still feels really weird to say my daughter. It still feels surreal to say, like, I have a child. I am a mom. You know, that feels very, very surreal.
I was going to say 19 months in, and sometimes I'm still like, I have a son. So we all ready?
Yeah.
Bernie, thank you for completing your survey. I very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I call you Bernie?
Yeah,
I know
totally.
You said either one.
That's
Okay.
what I generally go by Bernie more.
You felt a call to motherhood really early on,
Yes.
even in childhood. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what that felt like as it evolved over time?
Yeah, I remember as a little kid being really obsessed with babies. And I had a lot of baby dolls, and I had a lot of opinions about my baby dolls. So I don't know if y'all remember, but there were the baby dolls where you could actually feed them and it would go through, like, it would travel through their body. And so I needed those baby dolls because I needed as real as possible, right? Like, I needed to change their poopy diapers. And I actually remember one of them, I learned sort of the hard way. I got some food got stuck in the little plastic GI tract and it started to mold. So I actually had to, like, help clean her out. But I saved up my money to get her an actual car seat so that she could be, appropriately safe in the car. I had a crib for her. And I even remember too, and I don't know where I got this from, but I even remember, like, trying to breastfeed my baby dolls. Just being like, so, and it's not like I saw that my mom doing that and I was imitating it, right? My favorite movie, which, I'll probably get choked up a lot, but my favorite movie was Father of the Bride Part 2. And so I watched that again during during pregnancy, because it was just like this full circle moment of, I watched that so many times as a kid growing up and so wanted that. And then to have that experience, that has always just, like, been on my heart. And then, starting in junior high school, college, babysat, nannied a lot. My PhD is in developmental psych. So I was actually trained pregnancy through death. So worked with kiddos, kind of in my training, and just always felt such a pull, such a calling.
You were that girl in junior high that was like, I'll babysit the egg. That will be my baby. I will take care of it.
Totally. Yes. And then once I grew out of the baby dolls, I just started collecting animals. I've always had multiple animals. For 20 plus years, I've had 2 dogs at a time, a cat. I've had every animal you could imagine. Had this cat that I was rejected by its mom. I tucked in my cleavage to do skin to fur with it.
Now, as a mom, how do you feel about your animals? Because they say that after you have a baby, your entire, like, all your feelings change and emotions change towards your animal because you're already, like, overwhelmed and heightened in the postpartum phase.
Do you know what soul dogs are? Soul dogs are like your dog soulmates. I'm on my 3rd and 4th beagles, but my first 2 beagles, they were my soul dogs. They were my dog soulmates. And so my daughter is actually named after them. That's how meaningful they were to me. Their names were Jojo and Ella, and my daughter's name is Ellis Jo. My daughter is actually named after them, and I just kind of, I'm about to scare the people, but
okay.
I always joked that I wish I could have breastfed my beagles. Like, part joking, but also part serious, because, like, that's how strong the maternal attachment to my beagles was. And so like wanting to be able to provide for them, So in the early days, I didn't intentionally do this, but you're feeding your baby and you have let down on the other side. I'm not gonna lie, like the beagles have very much just been like, let me lick this up. And I'm like, well, that's happening. So like I said, I'm scaring the people. But they're I see them all as like my sweet little kids. We're just starting some food. And when she's done, I literally like lower her so that the beagles can lick her up, and then I wipe her down, but they do the initial lick. And she loves them. I say, these are your sisters. And that actually, maybe that's been a challenge, is feeling dog mom guilt for the way that their lives have changed. They've been absolutely wonderful. I think there are some people who are like, oh, you have a baby and then you stop caring about your dogs. And I'm like, not at all. If anything, I found a different aspect of love for them, seeing how sweet they are with her. And it choked, when you set in your computer password, they're like, one of the security questions, what's the name of your childhood pet? It chokes me up to think that like she'll put their names, like these are going to be who she grows up with.
We're both dog moms here too, so we get it. I have a 10-year-old golden doodle, and she probably would consider her my soul dog. She's right here beside me, actually.
Mine are right on the bed behind me.
So in this new season of life, what do you feel like your day-to-day looks like?
I used to work a lot. I'm a psychologist. I own a practice. And so before baby, I worked pretty much around the clock, all the time, nonstop. And now I've really shifted my schedule. So I work Tuesdays and Thursdays from home. I have someone come in with my daughter. And then the rest of the work I do after she goes to bed at night, so that I can try to be with her just as absolutely as much as possible. Yeah, the days that I'm with her, I don't know. I like my sleep. We sleep in as long as she will let us, and then kind of get up, do the morning routine, get dressed for the day. Our day always involves some kind of activity. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but I'm like introducing her to a lot of the world. Hopefully she doesn't always expect entertainment, but she's getting a lot of entertainment right now. She's already in a swim lesson. She goes to music class every week, library, story time, whatever that is. We go to the dog park a lot. There's always, every day we dog park or dog walk, just normal errands, normal life stuff.
I feel like it's good to do that, introduce that early, though. I started Weston at swim class when he was 4.5 months, so like pretty early on. And then he switched to the little gym when like we needed a break over the summer because we had a pool here that was free to us. I switched him around to different things.
Yeah.
And Kristen's kids, they're also in swim and some other things too, right?
Yeah, we do swim, music. I'm like you. I just like they're always out and about.
Totally.
I think part of that, right, is there's no one to leave them at home with. They just come along. And I think as we listen to other like women who have been on Laura's podcast, like there's some people who are like, I don't want to leave the house. It's hard. Like getting out of the house is hard. And yes, full stop, getting out of the house is hard. But like if you are the type of person who is out and about, like last weekend, my best friend and I took the twins to a kite festival because like we both like kites. There's that balance of like, yes, it's scary, but don't lose yourself in the process. So if like those are the things that make you happy, like, and structure is not bad for them either. My kids have a nanny, just financially, it works easier for me with twins. But so we do have those structured things in swimming, in music. We don't tend to go to the library a ton. Which isn't to say we don't. It's just like doesn't always work with our schedule. You have to create what works for you, regardless of what other people think.
Totally. And I think I remember being pregnant, and I am still in this way. I'm like, I did not want to be the mom who was like nap trapped, or was like, oh, we can't go because she naps from 1 to 3, or like, oh, I've got to be home by 7 for her to go to bed. Like, girl, we are living life. And like,
you say that at 5.5 months. And Laura, I don't know if you feel this way too, but now that my kids are older, they sleep in their cribs. Like I am, it is not that I am trapped.
Yeah.
I do other things, but if we don't go to bed at 7, then the next day is awful. So we definitely have bedtime. We definitely have a structured nap time, which sometimes is a little off, right? I'm not going to say like, sorry, gotta go, because nap starts in 5 minutes, but nap still happens. But again, when my kids were little, yes, they slept through absolutely everything. But now that they're more aware of the world. So let's talk again in 15
A year.
months and let me know how you feel about that.
Yeah, that's fair.
I agree, though. We definitely have a set bedtime, and Kristen knows we've struggled a lot with sleep here. But one thing that I sort of flex, or mostly weekends, right, is his nap schedule. Sometimes he'll want to fall asleep earlier, and then we'll go about our errands after that. Or, if we're out running around, he'll fall asleep on the way home, and then he transfers easily into his crib. So we do flex a lot of his naps, but he has very strict nap schedules throughout the week because he goes to daycare. So it's
Yeah,
like 1 o'clock. He has to
sure.
lay down. Were there any moments throughout your journey where you felt any hesitation or doubt about whether this path was sustainable for you? And, what sort of helped you work through those moments? Because we hear that sometimes, like, or we see it in our groups, right? People want to do this, but they're afraid to do it because they don't have the finances or they don't have the village or the living situation.
Yeah.
What made it
Um,
click for you to finally go? I don't know how
Yeah.
you got pregnant. We didn't talk about that, but what made you decide to start whichever process you went through?
yeah, so oh gosh, this is like such a kind of long and convoluted story. So my daughter I did embryo adoption, open embryo adoption. She was actually my second round. So probably, I'm going to say 5 years ago, I was really gave it my best effort dating and trying to find a partner. And it was not going well. And so, you
There.
know,
We've all been
yeah,
there.
exactly. So I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And sort of really started exploring and reading and researching and trying to like center the experiences of whether they were like older adolescents or adults who were the result of whatever, right? So like for a little while I thought, oh, I would adopt a kiddo who was born, and international adoption, and just considered everything. And then for various reasons felt kind of the embryo adoption was the path I wanted to go down. And so met my first family, and this would have been 2.5 years ago. I was preparing to transfer for my first round of embryo adoption. Excuse me. And neither one of my donor families had done any PGT testing. I really wanted to do that. I had already adopted my first round of embryos, was getting ready for a transfer. And then that round, they came back all complex abnormal. One was missing an entire chromosome. And so I tell
Oh.
people that to me felt like a spiritual miscarriage is how I describe it, because I had already started bonding in a weird way. I'm like, these are going to be my babies. And that was 2.5 years ago. And this is true. I'm still paying for their storage because I haven't been able to, it's like still part of my grief journey. I haven't been able to make a final decision. And yeah, that just is part of my grief journey.
I think one thing that we don't talk about, and I did have a clip of this on TikTok, is we don't talk about embryos and losing embryos. And like they are the start of a life, right? They're 5 or 6 days into what the beginnings are of a life. And so losing them after PGT testing feels a certain way.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose them. You don't want to let them go. And so I completely understand it's hard to let them go.
Totally. That first donor family, they grieved with me, and they actually in a weird way, they helped me meet my second donor family. So donor mom 1 went on Facebook and was like, I have this incredible adoptive mom, and she's just amazing, and this is what happened, and like, you want to give her your embryos basically. And I don't know if y'all experienced this, but I did experience some weirdness around being a single mom, right? Or a solo mom. It almost felt like, especially in the embryo adoption world, and maybe because there are some religious folks there, but they did not, a lot of people were like just not even willing to consider me, which was hard. And so then I found donor family 2. And then here's where it gets real exciting. About this would have been about a year and a half ago. And I'm so passionate about this now because I see this all the time on our Facebook groups. I was gearing up. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do a transfer. These came back from testing. They look great. I'm gonna do a transfer. I'm pulling the trigger. And I met a guy. And y'all probably see this. What did I do? I put my plans on hold for him. And I see these posts now quite often, and I jump in with my 2 cents. Maybe I shouldn't. But, the gal is asking, oh, what should I do? Should I put this on pause? And I share my story. I did. And I was honest from the very first date. I told him, he was 5 years younger. I told him, I am meant to be a mom. I have these embryos. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. And I'm like, well, let's see what happened. Because he said all the right things. Being a dad and a husband is the greatest thing I'll do with my life. All of that. And I'm mocking him very intentionally. And this would have been last February. So February 2025. I find out that I am unintentionally pregnant with him. Intentionally pregnant. I was like absolutely terrified, but it felt weirdly like Tetris. It felt like I've been putting this off. I've been putting this off. This is what is supposed to happen. Well, fast forward, I tell him, he's like, this is great. I'm so happy. I know you'd want to stay home. Let's move in together. I can support us, blah, blah, blah. I miscarry and he breaks up with me. He walks out on the day I started bleeding, on the day I started miscarrying. And he tells
Ooh, that was a sign.
Yeah.
me that we have different timelines for kids, is what he tells me.
Was he planning to tell you that while you were pregnant?
Yeah,
Like what?
I'm not sure. And it was a real doozy to me because I had been
Yeah.
so forthcoming. Like on the first date, I told him I have embryos. Like this is what I've been pursuing. So he knew my timeline. He knew I was 5 years older. That was all so transparent to him. I was
I wonder.
I've seen a quote somewhere that's like, if there were a runner, they were always going to be a runner. So he was a runner for sure.
totally. And the crazy part is, even before he found out I was pregnant, he had been calling me, y'all will love this. He had been calling me the love of his life. And
So he's a
that's
love bomber.
Yeah,
Love
don't
bomber.
they
that's
always?
how he treated the love of his life, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if I'm not trying to give him the benefit of the doubt in this question, but didn't know what I have embryos means is. And the reason that I say that is because I feel I learned so much about fertility that I should have known before trying to have kids that I didn't know. The very obvious one is that your period is the beginning of the cycle and you track your fertility based on that. I don't know why in my head I always thought it was like the end of your cycle. But we don't talk about that, right? And that like, your ovulation peaks for most people, it's around day 12. Obviously there's a spectrum there, but there's just so many simple things that because we're women and we live in the patriarchy, we don't talk about. So for a man to have no idea when you're like, yeah, I have embryos, which means I have kids right here.
I feel
Like,
I mean, yes, so there was that because I remember at one point in dating, I was obviously not on birth control. I had like taken out my IUD because I was on getting ready, right?
yeah.
So I remember I sent him this 10-minute video of like, here's the menstrual cycle explained. I sent it to him and I remember I was like, did you watch it? And he said no. And looking back, this cracks me up. I can be kind of sassy and sarcastic, but I was like, okay, well, when we get pregnant, it's your fault, is what I told him, and which is now hilarious. But so he did it, but also I do feel like I was really explicit of like what that means is that like they're ready to go. Basically, within one cycle, could transfer an embryo and get pregnant. And so I do feel like I was very explicit about what that meant, and also to your point, like they're men, and some of them think we can control the day we get our period, right? And so even with all of the sort of explicit information, did he understand? I don't know. And they're maybe like a deranged person, just so grief stricken. And I remember because I've been seeing the same therapist for almost a decade. I just told her after that miscarriage, I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I have put this off for too long. Quite literally, the very next cycle, I did not even have a period between my miscarriage and transferring my daughter. So I had a miscarriage, and the very next cycle, I think literally I had, the miscarriage bleeding started. And then I think the very next week I was in my fertility office and I'm like, it's go time. And I transferred my daughter and I got pregnant the very next month. And I think I'm woo woo. So this is not for everyone. I'm woo woo. But I tend to subscribe to like the spirit baby philosophy. And I do think, for me, I do think it was the same sweet little soul who tried to embody the first time and had this awareness that I didn't, of like, whoa, this guy cannot be my dad. like I cannot be connected to him, and mom, you can't either. Like, I think she had wisdom I didn't have. And then literally I transferred that next cycle, and I think she was like, okay, yes, this is the body that I can come into. Got pregnant literally the very next month. I'm very fortunate in that way that I just transferred once, and she took, within 4 days I was testing positive.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow, that's real quick.
She was ready.
Did you start having symptoms right away? Because I've heard that. Like some people within the first 24 hours start having like the smell and nausea.
I wouldn't say the first 24 hours, but I mean certainly within a week of transferring. And
So wild.
I hear this from other people, other women, that like sometimes they feel like after a miscarriage they're even more fertile. Like have y'all heard that?
I will say, just based off of a friend who had had a miscarriage, that when they started trying, it was pretty quick
Yeah,
right after. Yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
within a week I had symptoms.
Did you have to have a DNC?
I did not know.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that helped to push things along to the transfer. That's really
Yeah.
nice. Now that your daughter's here, what
Yes.
has surprised you the most emotionally about this newborn stage?
I feel like in pregnancy I was very anxious because I'm a developmental psychologist. So I know sort of everything that can happen, right? And I distinctly remember like just feeling sort of anticipating so much overwhelm, and asking my own therapist like, "Oh my God, what if she has colic?" Like where a lot of people who've never been moms or been around babies, they're like, "That's colic," and I'm like, "This is everything that could happen." I was like truly borrowing worry about the future. And I think I imagined it, but I like the depth of joy and fulfillment. Yeah, I don't think we have words for it in English. Just like this soul completion of like holding her. And I come from a lot of sort of intergenerational trauma, and have very much felt like my purpose isn't just to like stop the trauma, but to like establish a new cycle, right? A cycle of security and unconditional love, and pass that down, and just yeah, just the joy and the fulfillment is continues to be overwhelming to me. I took her to this like Tiny Tots orchestra over the weekend, and this happens all the time.
We
And
were there
she
too.
Oh, were you?
Yes.
It was so much fun, and she's 5.5 months, right? She loved it. Like she was trying to dance, she was vocalizing, singing the entire time. Just these moments of there, it's magic. Um, it's absolutely magic.
Seeing the world through tiny humans' eyes brings a joy that is inexplicable, really.
Yeah.
Like people talk about like the love you have for them, but like Laura and I talk about this all the time because both of our kids are in early intervention, and they work so hard to do so many things. Sometimes they do stuff and you're like, where did you learn how to do that? I didn't even know to be excited that you learned how to do that. It's just experiencing the world through them is really cool.
Amazing. It's
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah.
And just having given life to these incredible little human beings too, right? Like we were able to do this. We've waited for this for so long, and then it's finally here. I had a lot of anxiety during my pregnancy, to the point where in the third trimester, I was making sure with a handheld Doppler like 20 times a day that he was still in there, when his heartbeat was going, because my anxiety was so bad. I don't think it's gotten better since he's been here, but I'm managing it, right? Postpartum anxiety is a real thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you had any of those moments where you're just like, whoa, you know?
I mean, I have certainly had well, and yeah, so especially at the end of pregnancy, I was diagnosed with cholestasis of pregnancy. And so
Oh, itchy. Yeah.
yes, and they give you, you have to be induced because it can really cause stillbirth, a lot of complications. And so the last few weeks, I was under this like, hey, if you don't feel her move, you need to come in right away. And I now know this even more having her. She's a very chill baby. She was also chill in utero. I was freaking out, I feel like every single day and just kind of accosting her like, hey, can you move, please? Just so I know that you're still alive. And then, yeah, postpartum, I mean, certainly in the first few months, like had flashes of like intrusive thoughts of things that could happen to her. And the most really liberating sort of perspective someone shared with me was like, that is your brain telling her or telling you like, hey, watch out for all of this, right? So for me, I would have these intrusive flashes of like, I would just be going around the corner holding her, and I'd have this intrusive flash of like her hitting her head, right? And it was at first really confusing to me of like, I adore this creature. I am not low key, like high key, all the keys obsessed with her. And I'm like, why is this happening? And someone said, Bernie, that's your sort of the evolutionary mama part of you, like flagging the corner. You never paid attention to the corner before, but your brain is now like knows that is a danger to a little kiddo, and your brain is saying, hey, watch out for that. And that was a really helpful frame for me, because I went from feeling like a bad mom for the thoughts and the flashes, right, to being like, whoa, brain, we are on top of this, we are anticipating what could happen and trying to protect her. So and I do, just again because of my background, I think I tend to be maybe a little hyper vigilant about the attachment stuff, because that's my work. There's some anxiety. I think about this a lot. I'm like, what is a healthy amount of anxiety and what is too much anxiety?
What are some of the attachment things that you have thought of that have come up that like concern you because of the line of work you're in?
Yeah, so even something like starting swim lessons, I didn't know how she was going to handle it at first, and it could be a little scary for some kiddos. And so I wanted to be on the pool deck. I wanted to be within like very clear line of sight. And they said, yeah, no parents are allowed on the pool deck. You sit behind the glass. And I was like, the hell I do. And so it took, because I wanted her to be able to see me as a
Yeah.
touch point of like, okay, there's my secure base. She's still there. And so it took me a little while to like come to terms with that. I still sit as close to her as physically possible. And she's
Bernie's like pressed up against the glass, like.
yes, yes.
Depending on where you go to swim lessons, like I, until very recently, was in the pool with the twins. So if you need recommendations on where you can physically swim with her, I can give those to you.
That I would appreciate that. Well, and that now is like what one of the things that I talk with my therapist a lot about. And I have this awareness too of like, I need to strike a balance, because I want to cultivate, like literally the day I brought her home from the hospital, I was singing a song about secure attachment that I just made up on the fly. And I sing songs about that I make about co-regulation. And so I think a lot about like, where's the balance between being there for her and showing her that I'm, you know, always there, that she can count on me, that she can rely on me. But also codependence is a thing. I think it's too early for her to be codependent, right? She in every way still needs me. She can't even fully sit up on her own. But like, striking, and part of attachment too is like the reunions. Okay, we've been away, and what does the reunion look like? I think a lot about her attachment. I talked to her amygdala. I'm like, that was scary. Now here's how we're gonna cope with it. The psychologist thing was, I didn't even plan for this, but it was there when I was giving birth. The first thing I said as she started, I'm pulling her out and she starts crying, I said, that was so jarring. That's so valid. That's what I told her. So I just therapized my brand new baby.
But I think that's a really good self-awareness to have, right? Here's where my educational brain is taking me. Here's what I know the practical world is and why that matters, especially as a single mom. Because Laura and I talked about this in my episode, which we did, gosh, almost a year ago now, Laura, which is crazy. And my kids were out with their aunts at a petting zoo. We were in Boston, and it's sad because I couldn't be there because I had to work, but realizing that they're also building relationships with other people who are stable people in their lives, who are, the morbid side of that is if anything happens to me, they go to live with. So then these people are not complete strangers to them. So there is that balance of, my kids know, I hope they know that I am there for them, but our village is more than just the three of us, and that there are so many other people. They love their swim teacher now. I don't get in the pool anymore, which is more of a personal choice because I just didn't want to anymore. But they're big enough now that I don't have to. But they love Coach Ree. Like they see her and they light up. And that's, again, I'm a few years ahead of you in this journey, but don't lose sight of when is it important to be there, and when do they need to build the relationships with other people.
Yeah, totally. I think that's such a good frame. And I have to remind myself, because I think my impulse is to want to be everything for her, and then I'm like, wait, Bernie, no, that's not healthy. Like that is also a sort of attachment injury, is the parents who are so overbearing, you know? So yeah, a lot of my thought goes into how do I do the attachment thing well?
Balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
It's
is a
really
book,
difficult.
not that you probably need to read it. I understand that you are very well versed in this, but a book that helped me, so maybe will help other listeners, is it is like attachment parenting. Laura, I'll send it to you so you can put it in the show notes. But it is just about attachment parenting. Isn't like being a tiger mom. It is knowing when to step forward and when to step back.
And thankfully, I have this awareness, but my impulse is to try to, of course, like she starts to cry and is to soothe her. I know in life, like that's not always going to be possible, right? Like we've all had experiences that can't be soothed. And so then sometimes I just on the fly of like make up a song of like, yeah, we're sad right now and we're just going to feel it and kind of ride this wave, right? And mom's right here with you. Because I won't always be able to soothe her, and also then even if I could always soothe her, that doesn't teach her any distress tolerance. It's just so many things go into it for me.
So, Raising Securely Attached Kids is the name of the book.
Yes, that's a great book.
Thank you.
And I think that's one of the hard parts about our walk too, assuming you have a sort of equally invested co-parent. For the people who are doing it with a partner, we don't have anyone to like bounce ideas off of, or like, hey, what do you think about this? Or like, how do you think we're doing here? It's kind of, and I find that hard, of like, Kristen, to your point, making sure that I also have other adults who I really trust, of like, hey, am I overlooking something, or am I doing too much of this, or am I not doing enough of that? Like, checks and balances in a weird way when it comes to how I'm parenting.
Right.
I'm estranged from my mom. We haven't spoken in 3.5 years. And then my dad actually had a stroke, broke his hip in my third trimester of pregnancy. I went out and took care of him several times in my third trimester, red eye flights and everything. And so he is now wheelchair bound, and out of state. They're both still technically alive, but not present or active involved grandparents. That was another thing that really helped me pull the trigger. I was 34 when I transferred her, as I kept thinking about, if my kiddo, boy or girl, waits as long as I waited, like how old will I be as a grandma? Because I knew, I was anticipating like my parents are not going to be involved, and so will I be able to chase my grandkid around? Will I be able to like take them to the water park? All of these things. And I felt like it was really important to me. It still is really important to me to be able to do that.
Yeah, that is something that is important for all the listeners out there. Is one thing we do remind them of is like, if you're considering this, do it while you're younger, right? Because so many of the people that we have talked to are my age, like 40 or a little older. And so by the time my kid graduates, I'm going to be almost 60. And so it's going to be hard for me to chase my future grandchildren around if I'm around when they are here. But, if I could go back in time, I would have done it at a much younger time in my life when I started considering freezing my eggs. But here we are. It probably wouldn't have given me the child that I have now, and life would have looked a lot differently. So it all works out in one way or another.
And if I'm honest, at least for me, and maybe there are other women like this, I see them posting, like I put it off waiting for a man.
Same.
I did.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I deeply regret that, because again, like I have my daughter now, and I like the most amazing thing I've ever done. But I do, in my own healing and stepping into my own sort of matriarch identity, I do deeply regret sort of for so long handing over my calling to men, and like letting men sort of like have that power. Um, I deeply regret that part.
Not only having the power over us, but like chasing that societal dream of what life should be. You should get married. You should have that whole happy relationship before you bring a child into the world. That's not the way it has to be. And so, I mean, that's something that I look back on. I would have spent way less years chasing really ridiculously childish men
Yeah.
and trying to change them and just focused on the goal, which the whole time was wanting to be a mom.
Laura and I talk about this. What does your village mean? And I think we talk a lot about it post pregnancy and what it means for our kids. I don't think Laura, you and I've ever talked about it, of like what it means before the journey, right? And like for most of us, like what are we looking for in a partner, in a man predominantly, like maybe for some women, it is another woman, but what are you looking for there, right? Is it an adventure buddy, someone to go out to dinner with? Is it someone to help you around the house? What are the characteristics that you're actually looking for? And do you already have those people in your life? My best friend and I joke about this all the time, is that, and we had for years prior to my kids, that if we're going on a trip, if one of us wants to travel, we're probably going with each other because we travel well together. We just have fun with it. Um, and so if I need help around the house, my dad is still alive. I'm very thankful for that. He can help me around the house. The one big question is sort of, well, what about sexual needs? And I think I'm just kind of like an asexual person to begin with. I don't feel the need to go out and like have a one night stand. Long term being in a relationship and having that pressure of feeling the need to have sex all the time, is I don't have that. And so it's okay. And there's other ways. The sex industry is an industry for a reason, or like sex toys, right? It is what it is. But truly, when you think about, yes, there's the societal norms of we need to be with a man, but all of us as intellectual women, what are we truly looking for in a partner? A lot of us probably already have those in the people in our lives. It's just not all one person. And you're the psychology person, is probably not healthy to have that all in one person. It's really
Yeah.
helpful to have it across people. And why don't we talk about that more?
Well, and I don't know. I totally agree. You said something that also really stuck out to me, but like the being in a relationship long term and the pressure to have sex. Maybe this is good, maybe this is bad. I think like most things, it's probably a little bit of both, but I've started keeping a note on my phone. I'm a big, and this comes from something we call cognitive behavioral therapy, this idea of like, where's the evidence? So when you have a thought, right, most of the time, if it's a distressing thought, it's maladaptive in some way, right? So like, where's the evidence, both for pro and cons, right? For and against this thought. And so I've now started, I compile, it's a living note, I add to it, but it's like, it's reminders for me of when I think I want or I need to be partnered. I pull this note up of like, oh no. You would want to be with a healthy partner, right? Like
Right.
you do not want to be with a man child. And so one of these on my notes, I've got this well, I've seen this so many times, right? But a fellow mom friend who's married, like just the pressure, the constant pressure from her husband to have sex, like all the time. And it's like, I can so clearly see she's exhausted, she's touched out, like she's not interested. And it's like, read the room, buddy. These comments are coming in front of me, right? So how bad is it behind closed doors? But I can tell it's another stressor for her, this pressure coming from her husband. So yes, there's the point of like, no singular person can meet every need, and that expectation is not healthy. But then also, I think the truth is we'd all rather do this on our own than do it with a shitty partner.
100%.
Right. And when I was pregnant, I did have a lot of women say that to me. Men are
Yes.
only there for the financial reasons. Like, you don't really need them for anything else. And these were
Yes.
women that were married, like older
Yes.
women that were married. But I will say that at this point in my life with a toddler, I can't imagine going through the day of working and taking care of a toddler. And then after getting him to bed, in that 1 hour I have to myself, having sex with somebody. Like, I don't have the energy for that shit. I
Uh-huh.
want to go to bed.
Uh-huh. Or
And don't touch me in the middle of
yes.
the night.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
don't do it. I don't have the energy for any of that. So maybe, yeah, maybe I don't need a man right now in my life.
Some of the Facebook groups, there's a handful of posts every once in a while that's like, am I just talking about the spectrum of not gender identity, sexual identity, I guess I would say, right? Of in TV and through music, we're brainwashed into thinking that people want sex all day, every day. And if you don't want that, then you're weird. But the reality is most people, there's this primal need for it, right? That's how we have kids. But it's like, it's not pansexual. It's Tara and I were looking up that it's like dansexual or something, right? Where you're interested in someone, but you have to be like really connected to them in order to want to have sex with them. Which is why so many people don't actually feel fulfilled from a one night stand because there's no emotional connection there to have that level of intimacy that makes good sex. And so I would be curious if we like were to pull the group of like solo moms of like where do people feel they fall on that sexual spectrum? And I feel a lot of us would probably be to that side of it's fun and like, but that's what vibrators are for, and I'm good with that.
Well, and I think too, and I see this even in my therapy practice, I think there are evolutionary reasons for this, but generalizations, not all men, not all women, right? But men, I think, tend to think about and desire sex more, because sex is not, it's not potentially costly for them. Right? For women, or if you have a uterus and you can get pregnant, sex is potentially much more costly for you, right? Like one singular sexual encounter and and you're pregnant for 40 weeks, and then you've got this maternal investment, just biologically is so much greater for women. And so I think that sometimes comes out too for a lot of women. Yeah, we're not thinking about sex nearly as much as guys are.
Conversation took a huge turn.
I just wanted to focus on one thing that you had brought up, Bernie, and that is, and you can dive a little more into this story, but when people, usually with good intentions, say things about solo motherhood that don't quite match up to our lived experience, how do you navigate those?
Yeah. So I just recently I had a friend. It really bothered me. I think she's very well intentioned. She sent me this Instagram post where it'll be a singular post, but it's like multi-slide. You swipe to see, subsequent slides. And so she sent me this post of like 5 reasons you need a man as a single mom. And then the 5 slides were empty. So the insinuation being you don't need a man. Which is true. We don't. And also she's partnered. She has a husband. They have 1 kid. And it's like you're totally missing the point, because like, yeah, of course we don't need a man, right? And going back to the earlier conversation, an invested partner would actually be super helpful. Like, would someone who could help share the load? Yeah. Whether that be a man or a best friend, or kind of, again, diversifying how our needs are met. But like, yes, I actually do need people who can help me do this. And you just sending this is like you totally not seeing all of the, I'm going to call it invisible privilege of like that goes into earlier, okay, maybe he's not the best dad, but like you can run out, you could leave the kid with him for an hour, or leave the kid with him for 2 hours, or whatever it is. The kid is crying and you have to go to the bathroom, and you can say like, hold our kid, right? You can get into the gender and the emotional labor part of it, that you are still having to ask him to do it if he's not like super on top of parenting, which is very valid, very valid. And right, like in a lot of ways, it's an extra set of hands, hopefully the financial help, right? Like I think there can be privileges. I think it's just something we navigate. I had a lot of people tell me, y'all will love this, tell me when I was pregnant, you realize having a kid on your own is going to make dating even harder, right? I had a lot of people say that. And then my favorite was, these are really some of my favorites, like, it's going to even be not just harder, but like really hard, because it's not even this, I really want to pop off on some people. It's not even your kid, is what they tell me, because my baby is from embryo adoption. So biologically, she's not my biological child. That is
Who are these people, and send their addresses?
Exactly. That's probably my real favorite. I'm like, oh, fuck you very much.
The technician, a nail technician, she was like, it's going to be really hard. Like, I'm not sure that you can do it on your own. Like, what? You really said that to me? Like,
You don't even know
Okay.
me. You don't even
Right.
know what I'm capable of.
Right.
My twins, so I have boy girl twins, and they do look alike, but he has super super curly hair and she has very very straight hair, and they're both head blonde. I know this is a podcast. I have very dark brown hair. And so I joke with people all the time. I'm like, I don't know where they came from. I have the curly hair. I have no idea. And people's looks, especially because I'm very open about being a single mom, people's looks are like, what? And I'm like, of course I know where they came from. Like, I have the C-section scar to prove it. Like, come on. But I love messing with people. It's good fun.
Well,
But people
and
say
that's
stupid
also,
shit all the time. Like
they
all
do.
the time.
This
Yeah.
is also very interesting, but it cracks me up. Strangers or people who don't know our background will say, "Oh my gosh, she looks just like you," and I'm
Oh,
like, "Thank you, thank you." I don't actually think that's true, but I appreciate your projection.
yes.
When my son was a preemie, I mean, he looked basically like a skeleton because he had no weight, no muscle on his bone at that point. But people were like, he looked like you, or he looks so much like you. And I'm like,
Is that an
I
insult?
don't, I don't see it yet. But I have friends that will definitely push my buttons a lot by complaining about how their husbands are away for work for the week and how they have to do everything for the kids. And it's just so overwhelming. And I'm like, really? You get
Well,
a break. I don't.
I'm sure you'll have had this where, yes, so I have mom friends and like their husband, yeah, might be gone for a week or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I'm single parenting it," and
Yes.
I just
Oh,
bite my tongue.
That's a trigger for me.
No, you're sure not. You are sure not single parenting it. Yes.
just a few more questions. What do you wish more people understood about this path that tends to get missed or oversimplified?
The term that I would use in my field is the disenfranchised grief, which for people who aren't familiar with that term, disenfranchised grief is basically grief that is very valid and real grief that we just don't recognize as grief. There's, for me at least, there's so much joy in meaning, and there is also, and it's not just like one and done, right? But there also is this sort of, and it's evolving and unfolding all together, tangled up in, but like alongside the joy and the meaning there is also grief because you're having to let go of what you imagine for your life. I mean, truly my whole life, right? I imagine my parents divorced when I was young, and I imagined and always dreamed of having a healthy marriage and being able, and maybe hopefully I'll still get to experience that, but I always imagined being able to model that for my kids. And so surrendering, like, that's not how this is looking, and you're pregnant, you always, at least for me, imagined I was going to be at the ultrasounds with somebody and we're both going to look in at the ultrasound screen with awe and wonder, or even just the really mundane moments of like, we wake up in the morning, I try to make sure we have some cuddle time and our mornings aren't stressful right away, and just how magical those moments are. You want to share that with somebody. And so that's on the partner front, or like for me, I don't really have grandparents for her. And so when I see involved grandparents, I often tear up because that is so tender. And so it's the constant sort of surrendering of like, here's what I hoped it would look like. It doesn't look like this. It's, again, so joyful. And that doesn't mean that you automatically forget about what you always thought it would look like.
And the grandparents thing, is there a way that you wish that community offered that type of role model in her life? What would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm still trying to figure that out. Is there somebody or some way to kind of to kind of find that? And for me, so grandparents and also healthy male role models, because my community is 1,000,000,000,000,000% women, and I can already tell that her exposure is to women, or her pediatrician is a man. And so we were just at the pediatrician 2 weeks ago, and she was just fixated on him, like in a way that she's not normally fixated on people, right? Just like glued in, and what is this, and
Who
so
are you?
how do I find a model for her in that? Those are sort of evolving questions that I'm working with. or holding.
But she might have teachers along the way,
Yeah.
or if she's in sports, there'll be role models there for her. You
Yeah.
know, we don't know what the future of dating looks like, and that could be an option for her. She's still so young, but she'll have that in her life. I know it.
Yeah. I think that's part of the journey too, is like a lot of it is trust and faith, which
Yes.
for me is hard. I'm such a planner, and what's the 5-year plan? What's the 10-year plan? And a lot of this is stepping out of, okay, I'm going to do this, and it's not all come together yet, right? I don't know what the male role model thing will look like, or maybe you had said this earlier, maybe the finances aren't there yet, or the living situation. I live in a very, it's not the most kid-friendly house, but also the market is not great right now. It doesn't make a ton of
Mm-mm.
sense to try to sell it right now, but you know, but still stepping out and like, this is the best decision, and like there are parts of this path that aren't yet clear.
And we can't fortune tell as much as I would love to for myself. Yeah, it's really, it's something that we can't do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And when I first realized that I was pregnant with a boy, my immediate thought was, oh shit, I don't have somebody for him to look up to. I mean, I have my dad, I have a brother-in-law. My dad does come a lot more frequently with my mom than he had when Weston was a newborn, and he loves his papa, but it's not something or people that he sees on a daily basis. So when he sees my brother-in-law, he gets a little shy because he doesn't see him quite often. The last time he saw him was 4 months ago, and he just saw him last weekend and was kind of nervous around him.
Yeah.
And even friends, husbands, he doesn't see them frequently. So I think of that myself too as a boy mom. It's like I don't have that constant for him, but he will get that along the way. And so I have to try to lessen that thought in my mind sometimes and just focus on the here and now, I guess is what we're saying too.
Mhm.
When you think about other women who are considering entering into solo motherhood, what feels like the most important piece of advice that you would give to them?
I would say wholeheartedly do it. It is like I said earlier, the joy and the wonder and the fulfillment are unmatched, at least for me. And secondarily, I struggled a lot with this of feeling inadequate. Like, because as a woman, because like, okay, I've tried dating, it hasn't worked. Basically I've been passed up is how I was seeing it. And so what does that say about me? I'm not worthy, I'm not desirable, I'm not wanted. And
Mhm.
yeah, the more solo moms I meet, like this community is truly, I think some of the very best women are in this community. So desirable and successful and kind and good humans and just badasses. And I'm like, oh, that's why. Like we're all just a bunch of badasses, and there aren't enough badass men to match. I mean,
Mhm.
truly, I think that's what it is. And so I would also say that embracing this role is not, it's not that you are inadequate or undesirable or anything like that. Maybe you're too good, like you're too powerful, right? You're too capable, you're too badass. And if you had wanted a partner and that's not what's happened yet, like that's not a shortcoming or inadequacy of yours.
That rings so true to, I think back over my years of dating where I wasn't good enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't skinny enough. I wasn't the right woman for these individuals. I wasn't perfect enough to date. Like I put all of these thoughts in my own head, my insecurities. And the more I talk to women through these podcasts, I realize that that isn't the case. We aren't those things, those narratives that we had created over the years of unsuccessful dating. I think a lot of it is we're strong, independent women who men can't keep up with and
Yeah.
are potentially threatened by,
Yeah.
and therefore it just wasn't a right fit for many reasons. A guy friend had told me a few years ago, men don't want women that are outspoken. They want women that will shut up and just do what they want. Well, that's not me. You're not going to get that in me because I'm going to stand up for myself. And the women that I meet through this podcast have taught me so many amazing lessons, but one of those being that we're strong women and we are meant to be in this part of our journey because motherhood was our calling.
Yeah.
And who cares about all those years of men that sucked?
Yeah.
We don't need them.
I will. This book was so. I think I mentioned this in my questionnaire. This book was so validating for me, and so much so that I actually emailed the author. But there's this book, Motherhood on Ice by Marcia Inhorn, and
Okay.
she talks about, in particular, why women are freezing their eggs. But she coins the term reproductive waithood, WAITHOOD, that essentially women are waiting, right? That women are ready, they want to be moms, and they're waiting on, which, gosh, I think so many of us can resonate with that, that we're waiting on a partner. And for me, it was really accepting, and the book is so well written, really just highlighting, now women are sort of outranking men in every domain, right? You've got more women graduating college and graduate programs, law school. You've got more single female homeowners now than male homeowners. And so that book really kind of forced me to be honest with myself. If we're looking for someone who's, I think a lot of us, we want an equal partner, right? That I had to get honest with myself of like, that may or may not come. It's not here right now.
Right.
And if I'm going to gamble my calling of being a mom on that, I've got to be honest that when I look at the data, the odds are not great. Like that we're all, I mean, basically all of us as women, we're looking to find an equal partner. And it's like, they're not
Might
out
not
there.
happen.
They're,
Right.
we hope they are. But they're not out there in the same number as women, as really badass women. And so that's just kind of where we're at culturally right now. And so yeah, that book was just so validating for me of exactly what I had been experiencing. And I don't know, how, I guess, helped me sort of jump into this. Like I couldn't be stuck in that reproductive waithood any longer.
Is there anything else you would like to say to the listeners that we have not touched on today?
I don't think so. I mean, I would just emphasize as much as humanly possible of like, it's the most magical thing.
I
It is,
agree.
it's the most magical thing. And I saw not too long ago a Facebook discussion on one of our groups of like, there are some people who say that's the hardest thing they've ever done. And I'm 5.5 months in. For me, and that's valid. I think for some people it is. And for me, that's not been my experience. And so I don't want people to think that just because you're doing it solo, that means it's sort of guaranteed to be impossibly difficult.
Right. There are
Are
hard
there,
moments
yes.
throughout the journey, but when I look back on my life, I would say this is hard, but I would say that I have been through harder, very emotional lows, which were scary and in my life, and this is not one of those.
I would agree. I would agree. There are hard moments and moments you lose your shit,
Yeah.
because yeah, there are hard moments. But I wouldn't want people to think like it's impossibly hard, kind of like that nail tech said, you're not going to be able to do it. That's just not the case.
Right. Yeah.
Like before baby, I have never danced in Target. And with my baby, this happens all the time. We're out running errands and I don't even realize it. And I am just so joyful and happy in my little bubble with her that I find myself dancing in the Target cereal aisle.
Or
Like,
singing.
yeah, yes. Um,
You're like, who cares who listens? I don't care.
totally, totally.
Or I'm that mom lately that my toddler is starting to freak out because he wants the snack that I just pulled off the shelf. And I'm like, I don't care. Eat it while we're walking through the store. I'm paying
Yeah,
for it anyway.
yeah,
Whatever. I don't care if people are looking at me.
totally.
But it's hard. It's hard. I get it. It's really hard, but it is out of all the people that we've spoken to and all the posts that we see, the hard is so much worth everything that we go through because the miracle and the gift of being a mom and raising these incredible little kids is just so rewarding. I could not have asked for a more amazing chapter in my life.
A million times I agree. This is true. I had such a hard pregnancy and kind of a traumatic birth, and leaving the hospital, I started to cry, and the nurses were really sweet. They're like, why are you crying? And it's actually in some pictures. You can see that I was crying, and I just overwhelmingly was like, I don't want this to be my one experience, like having a baby. Like, this is so magical, and I want,
Right.
yeah. So here I am, 5.5 months postpartum, and like leaving the hospital. I was like, let's do it again. This is so incredible. And I still feel like that. I still feel like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Give your body a little time to heal though first.
Yeah, yes.
Because I was actually the opposite. I was like, I don't think I could do this again because I had a traumatic birth experience too, and not the best pregnancy. But it was around 12 months where I was like, oh, okay, let's start considering baby number 2. But give yourself a little bit of time.
There's no immediate plans, but I sure am thinking long term.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you for reaching out to me initially. I am certainly going to have you back for more difficult but fun conversations. This was so much fun. And I'm sure Kristen would say the same as well. So it was so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Good to meet you both.
Take care of yourself and give that little girl so many hugs and kisses. I want to thank Bernie for her willingness to open up with us, explore new topics, and dive deeper into some tough conversations. It truly was a conversation for the books. Before you go, thank you for being here and sharing this space with us. If choosing chaos has become even a small part of your journey, make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss more stories of courage, choice, and connection, and the beautifully chaotic moments of motherhood. Thank you for trusting us with your hearts and your hopes, and for embracing the beauty and the chaos alongside us all. Until next time, keep embracing the chaos here on Choosing Chaos.